Greetings! In this tutorial we're going to look at creating an assignment in your Brightspace course. And I want to set up a couple of caveats beforehand. Now in this particular instance I'm going to go to the Grades tool here and go to Manage Grades. Just so you can see, I've begun to set up some of my reflections and my assignments and essentially setting up the gradebook for my course, because that'll give me a couple of options when I go to build my assignments. And so we are going to build assignment number 5 in this particular instance. So we'll go to the Assignments tool to do that. And since it's not listed here, you can see I've set up this particular assignment already. I'm going to go to New Assignment. And I'm going to walk through this tool in quite a bit of detail for this first time through, so you can get a feel for kind of what some of your options are. The first thing we're going to do is give it a title, and as I said it's going to be Assignment 5. And we are going to put a grade on that. We're going to these particular reflections are worth 10 points, and we'll go with that. And then we have some options here. And if I don't do anything and just continue on through the rest of my assignment, this would add an item to the bottom of my gradebook. But this particular drop-down tool has gotten a little bit more complex. That might save you some steps along the way. So we've got assignment 5 here. I want to put it in the gradebook, but here are my options. I could reset it to ungraded. I made a mistake and didn't want to put any points in there. I want to score it, but I don't want it to be part of the gradebook, as that I'd check this not in gradebook here. Or I can go to edit or link to an existing. Now if I click on that, you can see that I have some options here. I could link it to an existing grade item. So if I clicked on that choice, what is going to come up here is all those items that we saw earlier in my gradebook. I could link it to any of those. So if it was assignment 1 or 2 or 3 or one of these reflections, I could just click on that and it would assign it to that particular item in my gradebook and I'd be good to go. But in this instance, that's not what I have available to me. I need to create assignment 5. So it's going to create a new item in my gradebook for me. Now to save a couple of my steps here, I can choose the category. And if you remember, that was the assignments category. So I can click no category, or I can move down here to assignments. So it's going to park it exactly where I would like that. And then I can change the grade type or scheme. And essentially, I'm going to keep that where it is. It's set as a numeric. And if you remember, as we set up gradebooks in another video, we'll learn what each of these items mean. But I'm just going to keep it as a numeric item. That's going to be the case 95% of the time. And when I have all these items all set, I'd click OK. And then I'm going to set the due date for this, and essentially I'm going to click into my calendar here and we'll set it for, let's say on the 5th of August this is going to be due. Okay, and then here you can set a time. It can be 11:59 as a default, but if you want to maybe set a little bit closer to class time, you could choose any time from that drop down and set that there. And then the good thing about using this assignment tool is this will appear in your course calendar, and it will appear in your individual students' calendars so they know when things are due. And then here you've got your instruction box. And essentially you have that Brightspace editor, which gives you a variety of tools to sort of make it fancy, to change colors of fonts, to add a video, to add links, to add pictures. Whatever you would find that it would make those instructions a little bit more clear, or you can put them in simple text, and you could put the entire directions as you explain them so that it would be clear what was the students needed to do to complete this assignment. This box down here gives you a couple of options that can further facilitate what a student would need for this assignment, you can attach a web link. So perhaps there's a video they need to watch before they do the assignment, or they'll do the reflection on. You can attach it to an existing activity in your Brightspace course, or you could perhaps upload a file, a Word doc or something along those lines. If you wanted to record audio, record video, you could do that as well if you hadn't done so up in this Brightspace editor. And what will happen with any of those files is they will be attached to this assignment so that when a student gets into the assignment, they'll be able to see all these additional attachments. And then once you're all set here, you want to check on these options right over here at the side. And we'll go to availability dates and conditions to begin with. So essentially what you have here are, if you don't do anything, a student will go to their assignment tool and they will see all the assignments they have for the course. They'll be able to click into them. They'd be able to submit all of those options. If you sort of wanted to control how those were released to students, these are the tools you would use to do that. So a start date essentially creates a window for when that assignment becomes accessible for students to click into and see. Now, they'll be able to see it there. If you've made it visible, they'll be able to see it, but they won't be able to interact with it or go deeper into the material. And there's a couple options there. So we'll set a start date, just a few days before the assignment is actually due. Perhaps there's other assignments in front of it or something for them to do prior to they click into this particular one. So since it's due on the 5th, we just want to make sure that our due date window, our end and start date windows include our due date. So the start date and the end date have to include the due date or Brightspace won't let you proceed. So we'll set it there, and you have some visibility options here as well. Like I said, this tool got a little bit more, give you some options on how to fine-tune your assignments. So the default is visible with access restricted. Essentially, a student will see the listing in their assignment tool, but they won't be able to click into it. You could make it visible with a submission restricted, so they could click into it, they could see what was required of them, but they just wouldn't be able to submit the document until that start date became available. Or you can keep it hidden from students so they wouldn't see it at all until that start date became available. I'm going to go with visible with access restricted so that they can see it, and the dates will show in their calendar when it becomes visible. And then to add, to increase that, maybe make it easier for students, you could add those availability dates so students would see in their calendar when this particular assignment would become visible. So option there to add that if you wanted to. So we're going to keep it with visible with access restricted and click done. We will put a due date so students wouldn't be able to, end date, so students wouldn't be able to access this after the due date. Perhaps you want to, kind of make it like, oh, you can go this far, but after the 6th, I don't want you to hand that in. So, you've got the due date there, the end date there, and that this entire window is when this assignment would be available to students. Couple other fine-tune options here are release conditions. Essentially, here you would set up a condition that would have to be met before a student could access this. It could be perhaps they have to view another piece of content, or they have to score a certain grade on their assignment, or perhaps they have to score a certain grade on a test or quiz. There are a number of release conditions that are available here, and you can sort of explore and look into them. Special access or manage special access. This is a very handy tool. You can assign this assignment to a particular group. Perhaps there's a group that does this particular assignment over another. Or you can give a student access to it who was late, or perhaps they're away for a sports game or so. So it does control how you can manage access to this assignment sort of on a larger scale. And once you have those all set, you can close that arrow, and we'll go into submissions and completions. All right, assignment type. in submissions and completions. Assignment type is the type of assignment that's going to have. An individual assignment is kind of what we're used to. Every student's going to hand in this assignment. A group assignment, perhaps you've set up groups in the group making tool, and in a group assignment, one student from that group can hand in that assignment, and it will be considered handed in by all the students. Also, when you grade that assignment, that same grade will be shared with all the students that were in that particular group. We'll keep ours at an individual assignment in this case. And then a file submission. You can do a file submission. Essentially, that may be what you're used to. A student uploads a Word doc or something along those lines. A file or text submission. This is kind of a new tool here where you have a couple of different options. A student could upload a file, or they could submit a text response with a specialized text box that becomes available on inside the assignment. We're going to go with that options, but some of our options here are text submissions, so they don't have to upload a file. They would just put in a simple text reply. They could do an on-paper submission, so perhaps you've assigned a paper or something where they're going to hand you a hard copy. The really handy thing about using something like this is you put on-paper assignment. You can set some parameters of when Brightspace says that item has been handed in, and then students won't see sort of a red flame warning that something is late or gone past the due date. So really handy, and then it'll create this item in the gradebook, put those due dates in the student's calendar, and once you grade those hard copies, you'd be able to submit the grade in the gradebook and everything will be great. Or perhaps they're doing a project in class or something, you're going to observe this in person, you would choose that tool. In this particular instance, they're going to submit a file, but I'm going to leave that text box if they just wanted to submit directly into there, and check that box. Now, the number of files a student can submit is unlimited. They could have put up several documents perhaps, might be really handy, or you could limit it to one file. Where an unlimited thing might come in handy is if a student uploaded the wrong file, they would be able to go back and upload another file into this assignment. You can control the type of file extensions that a student could submit. Perhaps it's just a video or movie file in a particular assignment, so you'd want to make sure you could make that an image or video. Or perhaps a student could convert their Word docs or some other doc into a PDF and submit that. If you wanted to put those restrictions on that type of assignment, you could, but we'll leave it at no restrictions. And then on the submissions, once they come in, all the submissions that a student make are kept. Only one submission is allowed, and if you click that would mean they'd only be able to put in one submission for this, or and it's only going to keep the most recent. So if they put in a second one, it would throw out the first one and they would then see this most recent submission. So we're going to keep all submissions so we can see if students put in several files for whatever reason. And then if you wanted to get a notification email, you can put your email address in here. I don't recommend that. A group of 25, 40 students all handing in their thing, you're going to get a ping a lot. Perhaps if it's a major document or something, then perhaps that would be beneficial to have the students hand in. And then once you're all set with those items, you could click that close, and we'll go to our evaluation and feedback. Now, evaluation and feedback, you can add a rubric that you've built in the rubric tool. We'll build a separate video for that and creating rubrics. But essentially, if you built that, you could attach it to this assignment and then use that rubric to grade. Right now, there are no learning objectives. It's not really that available in our instance, so we're going to sort of skip by that. And then this annotation tool, we're going to make that available. I recommend that because if they hand in a document, you have the ability to use the annotation tool in Brightspace with which to grade. And that's a really handy tool, allows you to put in text boxes or write comments and those sort of things. So I recommend keeping that checked. Anonymous marking, essentially this would hide the students' names when you go to grade these. If you wanted to set up evaluators, other people that could grade these assignments, you could set them in that area here. And then you can also add Turnitin into this assignment, which will mean that whenever a student submits a paper, Turnitin, which is our plagiarism checker. We'll run that through their tool, and then you would get a plagiarism report with them. I will create a separate video that talks about using Turnitin. In this instance, for this particular assignment, we're not going to do that. And so we've got all these information in, all our information here on our main window. There's one other thing that you want to do. If this assignment's ready for students to see, you want to make sure you check this and make it visible to students. Now, it will be visible, but because we set these availability dates and so forth up here in the top, they'll see it in their assignment tool, but they won't be able to click into it until that 8/2 date rolls around. So I recommend sort of making it visible. If you're still working on things, you know, you can keep those hidden, but since this one's ready to go, I'm going to make it visible, and I'm going to click Save and Close. And there it is. You can see that assignment 5 is in there. It is, you can see when it is due. You can see when those dates are around there. And then if we go back to our gradebook, because of those that rebuilt tool and go to Manage Grades, we can see that assignment 5 has been submitted in there. We can see that it is worth 10 points. We can see it's 20% of the grade in this category. And if you look right here and you click this question mark, we can see exactly what assignment this item in the grade book has been submitted to. And you can see the grade schemes and everything there. And we can click OK. So there it is. We have created our assignment. It's on our gradebook and it's on our classroom calendar, and we're ready to move on to the next one. So if you have any questions on creating an assignment or anything Brightspace or anything teaching and learning, please feel free to reach out to us at cetl@une.edu. Be well and have a great day.